I'm Denby Grace, I'm the producer on Mafia 2. So Mafia 2 is obviously, it's a crime action game, sort of set in the 40s and 50s. The game is very, very sort of story driven with a very strong narrative. We follow the game follows the life of a guy called Vito Scaletta and his sort of journey into a life of organised crime, you know. He starts off very small time, but then quite quickly builds up, becomes a made man, and sort of then journeys on doing all these things like a mobster would set in that era, you know. The game is set against the backdrop of this really authentic sort of period city that we've created called Empire Bay, and everything that comes with that. So the game's set over a 10-year period, and it channels Vito's sort of starting out when he returns from the war in Sicily. And we kind of progress through till Vito actually becomes a made man, and then beyond that. As you progress through the story, as you do these jobs for the mob, and then as you become a made man, then things start to get much more interesting, you know. Obviously you get all the benefits that comes from being in the mob. It works in the fiction very, very well about the way the progression of this player through this 10-year period of his life, but also it works very, very well on the gameplay sort of side, you know. Allowing all these different changes and these different things sort of coming in is a really interesting thing. As well as that, we changed the environment massively as well. The game starts out in 1944, you know, it's winter. It's the setting that we saw at the start of the Christmas trailer that we released. It's really sort of oppressive. It's the end of the war, you know, it's snowy, it's dark. And then we kind of move through to the 50s, and as we hit the 50s, you know, it's the birth of technology, it's bright, it's summer, it's the birth of rock and roll, you know. It's an exciting time in America. Again, all this plays into the gameplay, it plays into the fiction, and it makes the game sort of, as the game progresses, more things come available, more interesting things become available to the player. So the city in Mafia 2 is actually, it's 10 square miles, and that is like double the size of that of Mafia 1, you know. We have 20 distinct sort of neighbourhoods, from the Little Italy location that I speak about where Vito grew up, to the sort of like posh white picket fence suburbia of Greenfield, to the Midtown area that you're actually seeing in the demo today, you know. It's we have all these different areas, and they feel really diverse, and they're full of really different people as well, you know. In the Little Italy area, it's full of Italian Americans, you know. You progress it to some of the posher areas, there's posher cars and there's posher people going about their daily business, you know. And also, like, as well as that, we have like 100+ interactive indoor environments. All of these sort of indoor environments, some of them are shops, they're restaurants, they're sort of car body shops, they're all the sort of stuff you'd find and that is needed for us to make this fiction come alive, you know. Driving was a big thing that we looked at for Mafia 2 over Mafia 1. I remember even working on it back then. It was like, it was let's give it its dues. It was very realistic, it was very simulation based, and for that it succeeded. From a gameplay point of view, it maybe failed, you know, a little bit, you know. It wasn't as exciting as it could have been, it wasn't as interesting as it could have been. And that's one of the things we've really taken on board with Mafia 2. Immediately we're up a step because we're set in the 40s and the 50s, you know. Cars were much faster then, you know, they were much more exciting. People were driving cars for pleasure, not just for getting from A to B, you know. As well as that, we do some exciting stuff, you know, with like hubcaps will fly off, you know, car tyres can be shot out, and all this sort of stuff, glass can be smashed. So these things get much more exciting and much more dramatic in car chases and stuff like that, naturally. Another one of the big changes that we've made from Mafia 1 to Mafia 2 is the gunplay system and the combat on a whole. We have this whole feeling that we want the combat in the game to feel much more like a third-person shooter, you know. To add to that, we use a cover system, you know. Quite naturally, if someone shoots at you, you take cover. So why would we not use a cover system? It's we have this whole feeling of this whole thing of deadly combat, you know. You shoot people once in the head, they're dead. You shoot them twice in the body, they're dead. And the same applies to you. So you need to use a cover system. It's going to feel sort of intuitive. It's going to be fun, but ultimately it's very action orientated, you know. Add to that, we have like a melee combat system. Melee combat system is very visceral, you know. It's very simple to do. It's not like Tekken or something like that where it's overly complex, it's combos. It's sort of very simple to do, sort of like a few combos and there's a block, but the coolest thing for me is it allows you to pick objects in the world. Obviously you have stuff like baseball bats, flip knives, all the things you find in fiction. I could pick up this plate, throw it at you, or hit you over the head with it, you know. I could pick up a chair, smash it over something. Really cool, really sort of visceral. People use the environment as you're sort of around you in fights. For me, personally, it's the biggest jump over the game, you know. Yes, we've improved the drone, yes, we tweaked the gameplay system, but ultimately those things at the core are the same. This is very drastically different, and I think gamers are going to be really, really pleased with the direction we've taken it in. Mafia 2 is scheduled for a sort of fall 2009 release, and it's coming out simultaneously for 360, PS3 and PC.